Welcome, tale tellers, to today's episode. It's a double episode with two true stories. Our first story is titled I Never Saw His Face by HDPants, awesome name, and the second story is Brush Beater by LyricalWillow, also a cool name. Today's episodes are good examples of stranger danger and the risks of being a teacher in a dangerous town. Now, if you enjoy this episode, take 2 seconds to like it, or if you're feeling super generous, an iTunes review would be fantastic. Speaking of fantastic is my fans. Time for shoutouts. Troy Shaw, mate, thank you for your likes and your keen ears. I've had people mention to me on how sharp you are. Well, this is my way of saying thank you. Cheers, mate. Arkin Brother, aka Jace York, looking forward to your next story. I am super excited. As I mentioned in my email, I need to clone you somehow. Really love the support you have for me and the channel. I really appreciate it. Catherine Waldron, thank you for the like. Quasar Bolt, you sneaked in a comment, you sneaky guy, you. I just finished editing when you sent one through. So, I wanted to include you in today's shout out. Cheers, buddy. I appreciate any input and all input that you have, mate. Sin, thank you for your ongoing support. Cheers. The Mad Catter is some sort of like machine because I came back to a wall of likes in my SoundCloud notifications. And yep, it did feel good. So cheers, buddy. I really appreciate it. Every like helps. It makes a big difference in people finding the channel. So thank you. And the Crazy Town Podcast, your one-stop shop for all news that is weird and wacky. Cheers, mates, and thanks for reposting and supporting this channel. I have some awesome fans. Goodness. Okay, you awesome Tale Teller fans, if you're bored, nothing to do, just sitting there thinking, when's the story gonna start? Rightfully so. Turn the lights off, the sound up, and get ready for something different. Today, I want to talk about Jake. When I was 21 and in college, I went to a very large school, one of the biggest. I commuted every day. I'd park in the back of the lot of one of the many designated parking and bus pickup areas around campus. This lot was tucked behind 4 others, and while there were always a few dozen cars when I got there in the morning, I almost never saw anyone when I walked from my rusted station wagon to the bus stop up the front. On the last day of semester, I got off the bus and walked to my car. When I got in, I noticed a slip of paper under the windshield wiper. It said something along these lines. I've been watching you. You're really pretty and I think we'd get along. I'm Jake. We should talk. Text me, 555 555. At first, I was flattered. I had a boyfriend at the time who was distant emotionally and physically. He lived in another state. And it was nice to be complimented. I went home that day happy about it. When I got home, I showed my mum and sister the note, and they both looked at me, concerned. Do you know who this is? No, but it's nice, right? I'm not going to call him or anything. Dude, think about it. You can't recognize him. So, it says he's been watching you. He knew what car you drove. He knew you parked in a secluded back lot. Damn, that's not good. I thought about what they were saying. I couldn't think of a single person I'd see around the back bus stop or lot. But Jake was able to pick me out. Was he just doing something he saw out of the movies, leaving the note? Why didn't he just come up and say hi one of the times he was watching me? They were right. From that day on, I switched up where I parked. Now I park 4 lots away, just to be sure. Creepy guy Jake, let's not meet. Our second story is Brush Beater by LyricalWillow. First, a little background. I teach first grade in a high poverty area. This is a rough territory with a lot of gangs, hard drugs, and prostitution. Just a couple of years ago, the police arrested a woman and several men. The mum had pimped her 2 special needs daughters to the men for money to buy drugs. Suffice it to say, this is not a good area to be alone in, especially after dark. Anyway, it was early September and I had a new student. I'll call her Grace. She was very timid, had low self-confidence, and always seemed nervous. I kept a very close watch on her because I know these can be warning signs of abuse. One Monday, as I took my class outside to play, I noticed strange-looking marks on Grace's legs. Little round indentations marched from her calves to her thighs. She was in her shorts. The spots were red and looked painful. I thought she might have some kind of skin rash, so I asked her how she got the marks. Grace told me in a nonchalant way that I was being bad after school on Friday, so Daddy had to take the brush to me again. I was dumbfounded and honestly a little confused. A brush? Then I understood. Her father had beaten her with a bristle brush, hard enough to leave indentations on her skin 2 days later. Now, I am a mandated reporter and I take it seriously. I called CPS, Child Protective Services, and they were there that afternoon to talk to Grace and photograph her injuries. At that point, I am out of the picture and CPS takes over. I don't get updates on the situation, so I had no idea what happened. Grace never returned to school, but her father did. He showed up one evening as I was preparing to leave the school, about 5:30, parked his truck in such a way that I could not move my car, then jumped out carrying a baseball bat. He screamed expletives at me about how I'd terrified his daughter because she was in custody, how I was a nosy bitch who didn't know my own goddamn place, and how he was going to show me exactly what bitches like you deserve. He meant it too. The man had the cold eyes of a fish, and I knew if he could, he would do some serious harm to me. I didn't know what to do. Couldn't run from him. He was massive and had at least 100 pounds on me, all muscle. If I locked myself in my car, I'd be a sitting duck while he smashed the windows in with the bat. So, I said goodbye to my dignity and started screaming for help. Now, I'm petite, but years of teaching has given me the lung power of a megaphone, and I can be loud. People across the street heard me and came out to see what was happening. The great part of working in a small community is that you know everyone and they know you, especially if you're a teacher. A couple fathers of former students came over to help while a nearby woman dialed 911. He never did calm down and kept screaming about all the things he was going to do to me for turning him into the CPS. Even when the police arrived, he continued his tirade. They arrested him, but I'm not sure what the charges were. I don't think they can get him for assault, since he never touched me. For the rest of the school year, I had an armed escort to my car after school. Again, a small community, and our police are wonderful people. Interestingly enough, I had someone from one of the local gangs tell me they were keeping a watch because I had taught his little sister earlier, and she liked me. That was a surreal moment, let me tell you. So, crazy abusive troglodyte, let's not meet again, but if we do, I'll be prepared. Thank you so much, HDPants and LyricalWillow. These were both fantastic stories. The first tale I hear about all too often. The more of these stories I read, the scarier they get, and how close it gets to the stalker actually grabbing its victim. Now, I don't mean scary in the actions that took place. I'm talking about how close it could have been. HDPants, mate. You are really lucky. There are some messed up people out there, and it just points out how critical a family that cares and supports each other is to their loved ones. There is good advice in this story. Regarding the second one, well, when in doubt, scream about. There is no time for dignity when your life is at risk. You made the right call. I read these stories today because I wanted to point out how subtle the danger can be, and how what appears to be obvious or easy decisions are actually pretty dangerous, especially when it affects others, leading us into more danger. These stories give me a mental double take, as it were, around where points of danger arise in the most unlikely places. What would you do if someone left a note on your car? What would you do if your student failed to arrive at school the next day? Just some food for thought. So, thank you all for listening, and any likes, shares, reposts, and internet hugs, also known as iTunes reviews, are all appreciated. And if you have your own accounts, or stories, send them right my way. I'm extremely responsive and I pay close attention to my fans. All of them. You just gotta let me know who you are and the stories you have. Or even just say hi, I don't bite. So I'll be looking forward to hearing from you all the way in Australia. Okay, tale-tellers and fans of the creepy, this is the place where stories live, and you tale-tellers come to listen. Enjoy your day or night and join me every weekday for our creepy tradition. And as always, till next time.